from Cedarburg Public Library Radio.
It's cold, it's freezing, and Rover's outside? We'll talk about outdoor dogs next on The Radio Vet with Dr. Kelly. And thank you for tuning in to The Radio Vet with Dr. Kelly here on CPL Radio Online. And we have Dr. Kelly in the house. Hi. Thanks for stopping by and bringing us all kinds of animal and pet-based information.
You're welcome.
It's what you do.
Yes, it is. It is.
Did you think when you were in vet school that one day you would be a radio vet?
I don't think I did, actually. I don't think I did, but, it's fun.
You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
A couple of years now. I mean,
Yeah, almost 2.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love longevity when it comes to radio. When you're in radio, the hook is always there. So it's cold. It's going to get colder.
It really is.
Kind of brutal and awful.
Yep.
But we signed up for this as Wisconsin residents. Unfortunately, our dogs didn't sign up for it. They're kind of unwillingly along for the ride.
So most of the dogs I see in practice are indoor pets. They're indoors the majority of the time. Some of them have an easy time with cold temperatures because of their breed, and others really, really, really don't. It's common for people to tell me that when their dog goes outside in the winter, especially the first couple times when it's really gotten cold, they walk outside, they turn around, they look at their owner, and they hold up a foot. It's a universal communication for my feet are cold. I don't like it.
Doggies
Fix it.
Are you kidding me? You try going out here. Yeah, absolutely. But Malamutes.
Right.
It's
showtime. You can't get them in.
This is what they love.
You can barely get them to come in this time of year because they're so happy.
Not fans of July.
Yeah,
the alternate version.
Breed is one of the things that influences a dog's cold tolerance. Mm-hmm. So breed is a big thing. Age also affects their ability to tolerate cold. I recall one of my first jobs working in Dubuque, Iowa, a gentleman had probably a dozen hunting beagles that lived outside all year round.
Wow.
One of them, however, did come in with hypothermia, and she was the oldest one. Oh, okay. And so I think in her case, even though she'd always lived outdoors with her, with the pack, she just got to an age where she couldn't do it anymore.
Dropping some blubber.
Yeah, she just couldn't maintain her little furnace anymore quite the same at her age.
I feel it.
So,
all right. So, do you see many kind of cold-related injuries?
Really, no.
Okay, good.
Thankfully,
smart.
Yeah.
Good job, Ozaukee County.
Good job. Yeah, exactly.
But you see, a friend of mine who actually worked or volunteered for the Humane Society locally said they would get the occasional kind of wellness check. Someone was saying, my neighbor keeps their dog out, and it's like, polar vortex.
Right. Is that safe? Is that okay? So, that's a good question. Yeah. So besides breed and age, something else, there's many things that affect their cold tolerance, but you mentioned basically acclimation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is a dog who lives outside all the time okay, when it gets down into the single digits Fahrenheit here. Yeah, and it really depends on shelter.
Okay.
Yeah, it really depends on the shelter.
Classic Snoopy doghouse might help.
Yeah. So regarding outdoor housing for outdoor dogs, it's got to be at least a couple inches off the ground. You don't want the floor of the house to be the ground.
Right.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Absolutely.
And the walls and the roof should be airtight, and there should be a flap that they, come and go through so that it can block drafts.
Absolutely.
And the door that they enter and exit through should ideally face away from the common direction for wind and snow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Actually, if you add cable to that setup, I'm actually
good.
I'm good myself.
Right, yeah. Yeah, they can be insulated. They should be insulated in this climate.
Oh, certainly.
And what else? They shouldn't be too big. because
interesting.
the dog needs to heat the space with their own body heat.
Okay.
Yeah, so they shouldn't be too big.
So don't
That's
give
a
them
problem.
a kitchen, a den,
Right?
not necessary.
Yeah, the dog should be able to stand up fully,
Yeah.
turn around, and lay back down.
Okay.
That's what they need as far as, how much space do they have to have. And they shouldn't have a whole lot more if it's a cold climate because they need to be
Sure.
able to heat it up.
What is the psychology in some ways, the pet's owner psychology of saying my dog's going to be outdoors
I have
all
no
the time?
idea.
I mean, it's a
Why do you want a dog
strange
then? I don't
thing,
understand that
yeah.
at all.
I mean-
Dogs are social creatures
Right,
and they
right.
need social interaction. And so if you only have one dog and you keep it outside, you've basically got your dog in solitary confinement
Right.
most of the time.
Interesting.
Not a good life for a dog, in my opinion.
it's
They are
not-
social creatures. If you're going to have a dog that lives outside, you should have a couple.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Which then they can huddle out together and exchange body heat and all that
Yeah,
kind
and
of
they can
wonderful
heat up their
stuff.
little indoor space together,
Yeah.
and at least have social interaction, which is really
Hmm.
an important part of their quality of life, one of their basic needs, really.
Yeah, not living their best life, I would say.
Yeah, I don't
know,
understand that either. I really
interesting.
don't.
I've talked to one person and they said that, well, I don't want them on the couch. I was like, why don't you get a bad couch then? And for the dog, I mean, if sofas are the deal breaker, there are ways around that outside of like frostbite and hypothermia. I don't know.
No,
Just-
or you can train your
just
dog
me.
not to go on the couch.
Sure, that's
That
an
is
option too,
possible.
yeah.
It really is. It's
It's,
actually possible.
too much work. I don't know. Weird stuff. A lot of that goes back to, I think, prior generations too. It might be a generational
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
you know?
A dog isn't a member of the family in previous generations.
Yeah.
It originally was a working part of a
Yeah.
farm,
Sure.
herding operation, whatever.
Hunting. yeah.
They had a purpose and they weren't considered, so much pets as they were a necessity. And then there's, this gradual transition over decades to,
Yes.
well, now they're in the house and
Now they're running the house.
yeah.
huge shift over a very small period of time.
Yeah, and people are emotionally attached to them
Oh, yeah.
rather than having them as a necessity. They're something that they want.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it keeps my therapy bills down. Anyway, all right. So beyond that, what else is there to?
Okay, so breed, age, acclimation all affect cold tolerance, as does overall health.
Yeah.
Physical conditioning, coat density, that's pretty logical.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so we have our thick undercoat breeds who love winter. The Siberian Husky, the Alaskan Husky, the Alaskan Malamute, the Bernese Mountain Dog,
Sure.
to name a few. There are,
What's the
several
big,
more.
the Newfoundland. They must love this stuff.
Yeah,
those
yeah.
grizzly bears.
Yes, my sister has a young, just over 1-year-old Bernese Mountain Dog, and just sent a picture of her sitting outside in a blizzard, just like a little statue. No interest in coming in. You can barely see her anymore. Her coat is covered with snow.
She's thinking, you guys finally turned on the air conditioning around here.
They're finally happy.
Absolutely. Those dogs are popular. I see those things everywhere now. Those Bernese mountain.
Well,
Bernese.
and honestly, it's Bernedoodle.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you had the doodle, and that's the
So it's
domesticated part.
Yeah, the Bernese Mountain Dog mixed with the ever popular standard poodle.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
it's still a big dog.
Man, we're adding poodle to everything these days,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know,
hermit crab, half hermit crab, half poodle.
So the other thing that wildly affects cold tolerance and is very important for outdoor dogs is nutrition.
Very good, very
They
good.
need to be able to burn calories in order to keep themselves at a safe healthy internal body temperature.
Right.
So the thermoneutral temperature range for most dogs is 68 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. That's
Okay.
when they don't have to make any effort to keep a normal internal body temperature. They don't
Okay.
have to expend any extra calories to maintain a normal internal body temperature at rest.
Keep a box of donuts outside.
For a few breeds, that's actually 86 to 95 degrees.
Okay.
Meaning, even when we have our houses at 70, those dogs do have to burn a little to stay
Sure.
normal at rest as far as their internal temperature.
Okay.
The metabolic rate of a dog increases by 5 kilocalories, which we just call calories,
Okay.
per kilogram. For every degree Celsius, the temperature falls below a certain critical temperature. So by the time we get down to 5 degrees Celsius, which is 41 degrees Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
their inactive metabolic rate has doubled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from compared to their thermoneutral zone.
Interesting.
And we get way below 41 degrees Fahrenheit here.
That's a glorious spring day, 41. I mean,
Right,
come
exactly.
on.
So, they need several times their normal, intake, where they just resting at a comfortable 70 degrees.
So are we topping off the bowl a little more? What are we doing here?
We're pretty much doubling it.
Okay.
Yeah, or even tripling it when it's going to be like next week. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, right.
They
right.
need a lot of calories to burn. Yeah.
So table scraps or just more of the kibble? What are we doing? A couple extra cans?
Yeah, well, definitely more, balanced dog food.
Okay.
But I'm sure there's a lot of table scraps that go for outdoor dogs
Absolutely.
as well.
Oh, yeah. Lasagna is great this time of year. Comfort foods.
And then we have to remember, too, that it isn't just the temperature. It's also, is there wind?
Sure.
And is it wet?
Wind
Is it
chill
raining or snowing or, sleeting?
Right.
Because we all know how wind and wet really magnify cold.
Oh,
we
certainly.
get those weather reports in the morning now before, when I'm have the radio on and I'm making breakfast and getting ready for work, and they say, well, it's 22 degrees outside, but it feels like 4.
Yes, the feels like zone is the new
exactly.
ratio, especially in Wisconsin. They love that
Yeah,
stuff.
because they have to take wind into account. That makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay, what about dogs who live inside but go for walks outside and do have to go outside to relieve themselves when it's below 0 here, or at least the wind chill is?
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, brief ventures outside really aren't going to be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
But, going for walks, going to the dog park, and, wanting to extend their time outside.
Sure.
Yeah, the ones who are small and the ones with thinner coats, they should probably have sweaters.
Yes. So amusingly, I must say, our first Chihuahua, we used to take him to the dog park in Grafton quite a bit. And my wife thought in the cold days, let's put him in a sweater. And of course, she had to shop for stylish sweaters. So he's wearing a turtleneck, kind of a fisherman's sweater. Looks very dapper, looking good. The other dogs found him hilarious. And they would use the sweater to whip him about.
Yes.
He was so I was just like, I thought
That's
this guy
so sad.
is getting bullied over his sweater. I feel like the worst parent. So needless to say, he returned to the dog park nude. Going forward.
Don't provide any extra handles for the other dogs.
No, he was already a toy to them, just more so with his,
poor
little
guy.
Terrible, yeah. It was so embarrassing. So sweaters, yes. At home.
Sweaters are beneficial for those little thin-coated ones. Your Bajans, your Chihuahuas.
Yeah. Just don't make a social event out of it, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. And then there is, of course, boots. Boots serve multiple purposes, though, because people massively oversalt in places, especially at apartment buildings or businesses where everybody's like, well, we don't want anyone to fall and sue us, so we're going to put 3 inches of salt.
It's basically turning your entire yard to a giant pretzel. It's just
So instead of having slippery spots we have to watch out for, now we have salt in our homes that comes in on our boots and shoes, and it gets in our dog's feet.
Yeah,
and it can be sharp.
It burns,
and it can burn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it is a problem. So boots obviously save their feet from exposure to salt and from picking that up, and they also stop them from getting the horrible little snowballs that curly coated breeds, when they have hair on the bottom of their feet that comes out from between their toes, they build up these snowballs and start limping in the middle of a walk because they're no longer walking on their feet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
my little terrier guy, he's funny when it gets too snowy and icy out there. I think he's just a little over dramatic. He's my dog, so he clearly is. But his hindquarters will actually just go limp. I mean, he's out there and he wants to come back inside. He finally just is like,
I give up.
I'm dead. It's over. He'll drag as and I always worry. I'm like, oh my gosh, was there a spinal injury or something?
His legs are too cold to work.
They're just too cold to work. They just don't work anymore. And he just is like, it takes a minute to get them back when you get in the house. But I'm like, really, guy? I mean, we're gonna get that dramatic about the cold? Okay.
So how do you know if a dog that lives outside really is too cold and should actually be brought in?
Yeah.
So dogs who, well, because they're social creatures, when you go outside and you call them, they really should come out of their house.
Yeah.
If they aren't coming out of their house, they're probably too cold.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. If they're staying curled up in a tight little ball, they're probably
Way
too
cold, yeah.
If they're not responding to your cues, your commands, they're probably too cold.
Probably past the point of no return there, yeah.
Well, they're too cold to bother.
Jeez.
Yeah. So sometimes here nights will occasionally get so cold that, I remember in vet school talking to other students who grew up on farms, and they'd say, yeah, when it's like this, we'd have to bring the calves into the basement. So even cows sometimes.
Can cows do stairs? Just curious.
No, they get carried down.
Oh, good heavens.
they're talking about young calves.
Oh, I thought we were going to bring the whole herd down.
No.
That'd be awesome.
Cows, a herd of cows can really keep a space warm.
Yeah, I suppose.
They have to be indoors.
Right.
But they can really heat it up.
They generate their own
nice,
air
actually.
in various ways, actually. Yes. Been around that. So interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, and certainly I would think the sheep, the chicken, all of them, I mean, they must.
There comes a point where if it's really dangerously cold and you have all those animals, they got to come in. Yeah.
Green Acres is the place to be. So interesting. So when you have a potentially hypothermic animal, what do you guys have to do? Where are you at with
what
that?
do we do?
Yeah.
We would actually, in the summer, we would keep a bag of IV fluids in the refrigerator for heat exhaustion.
Sure.
In the winter, we have our bags of IV fluids are normally in a incubator.
Okay.
At any rate, so they're approximately body temperature. But what also, so besides running warm fluids through their circulatory system, we get basically not hot, but pretty warmed up blankets.
Okay.
And just smother them in them, basically.
Do they usually have good outcomes, those animals
it depends on how far their core body temperature has dropped. Okay. The beagle I saw way back in Dubuque, the thermometer we had, I don't remember how low it went, but her core body temperature was lower than what it would say. And I think the minimum was 93.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so that wasn't so good. I think when you get, I'm trying to pull numbers out of the deep recesses of my memory, but below a certain number, even if you warm them up again, they're going to suffer multi-organ failure.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Okay. So there's definitely a line that they're not going to come back from.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the weekend's coming, and it's they're using the PV word, polar vortex, again.
Good.
I haven't heard that in a while. Yeah, that's always fun.
Good.
So, yeah, keep those animals in.
So one last thing.
Yeah.
The most cold-related health problem, the most common cold-related health problem is not frostbite or hypothermia in outdoor pets. It's actually dehydration.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Their water freezes.
Yes, it would.
And they can't drink it.
Oh, geez. Big ice cube. Well, they could make, a good Manhattan or an old-fashioned back there, but it's all frozen. Yeah, that's
so the outdoor animals in the winter have to have heated water bowls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plug them
and they have to be working.
Right. Check on those. Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, not good. Well, it's not going to be a pretty weekend.
No, well, it might be because we're supposed to get a bunch more snow too, and that makes it pretty.
Well, yes, we'll have
I don't know where we're gonna put it.
Have the snow globe. No, I'm definitely aiming for my neighbor's yard. That's all I have left. So it's nice with my little dog too because the snow is so high at this point that the area that he goes out is basically a fort.
Yeah, so that's how I feel when I'm driving down my street. Is the snowbanks are so high? There's like
absolutely.
a 6-foot wall on each side of the street, and I don't even see anybody on the sidewalk.
It's like living in Switzerland. It's amazing. So anyway, have some fun out there with your pets, but not too much fun this weekend. I think the most fun you can do is, hang out with them on the couch with Afghans.
Stay warm and stay safe.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for coming by with all of this critical information.
You're welcome.
And stay warm, everybody. Until next time.